Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and today we're going to be taking a look at Ian Schofield's beautiful dungeon mats. Now, I've unboxed a beautiful dungeon mat already on the channel, and it actually currently serves as the backdrop for many of my videos here on HeroQuest, and that would be Ian's latest offering in his long line of beautiful dungeon mats products called DrivethruRPG. You can find all of the beautiful dungeon mats lineup here on DrivethruRPG, and I'll put a link in the description below. A lot of them are very fairly priced, but they come in the form of PDFs, ready for you to print or have printed at a local print shop. They work best on neoprene, but you could definitely print these off on paper after you divvy the image up and fit them together after you've printed everything out if you don't have access to a large-scale commercial printer. The prices range from $10.17 or $5.08 to $12.71, and they come in a variety of configurations. Just to give you a preview of one of them, this one looks a lot like the DrivethruRPG map that I received, but it has a different motif. The layout is the same, but the graphics are different. This is just one configuration, and you could say that this is HeroQuest-Inspired. Actually, it does say it right here on the page description. But other offerings, such as Putrid Stone, this is suitable for straight-up wargaming. You have nothing but unobstructed line of sight from tile to tile, 3 foot across, 3 foot down. This is a huge mat, and just a ton of space for scatter terrain and plenty of armies. If you're more interested in really screwing with the expectations of your heroes, you could take your HeroQuest campaign and play the Halls of Oro. This is a very unconventional dungeon mat, and we'll be getting a closer look at this by looking at the PDF in a bit more detail here in just a second, but you can already tell from this thumbnail that this is going to surprise, confuse, and generally cause the good kind of anxiety with your party of heroes as they try to navigate their way through this twisting, winding labyrinth of danger and death. How's that for no script? Now, obviously, this works better if you do get the mats, but even if you don't, you can get for free the beautiful dungeon mats Create Your Own Adventures templates. These are images of the maps zoomed way out, so on a single page, you can put all of the symbols and markings you need to create your own complete scenario ahead of time, and just render the contents of each room as the heroes encounter it in their line of sight. You've got space at the bottom for the name of your quest, the flavor text, the stuff to be read aloud to the heroes, the quest notes, any wandering monster, things like that. Really, really great. Huge win, in my opinion. All right, so we're not going to spoil everything, but we are going to take a closer look at Barracks Chamber for sure. Pros and cons to using this sort of map in your HeroQuest adventures. It is going to turn out really big. 3 by 3 foot doesn't fit on my 30-inch table. I've got 6 inches of map hanging off the edge, but that's okay because the one that I received doesn't actually use every square inch for tiles. The bottom part looks like it could be used for gathering your cards on or putting your hero placards or perhaps whatever you have behind your dungeon screen. You won't need all of the space that was printed on some of these mats for your adventures. This one, though, does look like it's utilizing every single square inch of the 3 by 3 foot space. You've got a lovely QR code here at the bottom right corner. I wonder what that does. But every single tile is represented here beautifully. We do have the walls, which actually take up an entire tile worth of space. I did go over this in my review video for DrivethruRPG, but you can stick your doors here and just pretend as though there is not a space. If you wish, you can have your hero here, your monster here, and they are adjacent. That's what I would do because I would not want to stop a hero in the middle of the door on the space where the door is. That would just be a mess. It would be really hard to negotiate. So don't do it that way unless you've got other plans. If you've got other ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you handle doors in this context. You have a lot of configurations of rooms that just aren't available with the vanilla HeroQuest board. So you have a lot of new potential, a lot of new skirmish situations. You've got things that block your line of sight now, and these could very well be cross sections of pillars, or they could be wells. Bottomless blackened wells. I guess they can't really be wells because they do have sconces on the side. But if you can ignore the sconces, then they can be wells. The pillars can block your line of sight and allow for very interesting encounters after you've revealed monsters on the board. You've got some winding hallways here that you could easily block off early on with walls of stone so that you can make these hallways exclusively accessed by the adjacent rooms around them. It's a really cool setup. It is a really, really cool setup, and being able to create your quest on the accompanying quest page for this seems like a really exciting and interesting idea. This one is called Greystone. It is very much what you see is what you get. There is nothing here obstructing your line of sight by default. You can see from the top left corner all the way into the bottom right corner and vice versa. This is great for wargaming. You can put scatter terrain here, all kinds of hills, mountain, rocks, stones, shrubbery, trees, castle, ramparts, ruins, whatever you like. Or you can build your dungeon on top of this using modular dungeon tiles and just have a bit of a space, a backdrop against which your adventure is actually playing out. This would actually work really great as just like a background and a neutral sort of background for my presentation videos. This one's the Halls of Oro. This is probably my favorite out of all of them, just from the possibilities that you can have with this map. Of particular interest to me are the rooms that have curves in them. You can very well decide that these spaces are not accessible by your heroes, or perhaps you can let your heroes go ahead and occupy them. Perhaps there is a size requirement, like only the halfling can step here because she's small enough to take up that space, while the barbarian is too big to fit. You could have goblins get into these corners. You could have them just completely inaccessible, and the heroes have to move around them, or you could fit furniture into them. You can have double doors, which is what I really like to use for my games. You can have single doors set up, and you can have those doors kind of separating the rooms from the corridors if you so desire. That's what I would do probably with these. You can also, just in classic HeroQuest fashion, put the door right here between the tiles and just have it take up that space, because that's what your heroes are used to anyway. So not only could you have doors taking up just this side or edge of the tile and not really counting as being on either of the tiles, you could also have doors that separate these rooms from one another where they are placed into the wall. Now you could decide not to do that as well. Every single square inch of this map that isn't a wall is accessible without having to place a door anywhere. It's all very much open. I really like this round room in the center. This is definitely going to be a place of interest for your heroes. What kind of stuff goes on in this room? What lies beyond? This map is called the Icy Terror, and oh my god, is it something. We don't just have a sort of imitation here. We don't just have a layout that looks similar. We have a whole reimagining of something that's very much inspired by the HeroQuest layout. We have deep, fatal chasms of ice and stone opening up in the ground. We have rooms that are covered in thick layers of ice. We have what looks like very much failed sacrifice or summoning attempts made at the edge of these chasms. We have lots of horrific possibilities, and we have corridors that are double wide everywhere. So your heroes are going to have a lot of new opportunities for skirmishes, and they're also going to be met with brand new challenges with this kind of configuration. I love these two rooms here in the middle, which do allow us to have some tight squeeze corridors, but everything else around them is open and broad. We've got line of sight across the chasms. Beautiful. If I could have one more of these printed off, this is probably the one that I would pick. It is awesome. Love it. And that says a lot coming from me, because I don't like ice levels. I don't like the cold level 6 in Mario. I don't like sliding. I don't like that stuff. I have PTSD from it. Now, if you're in the mood for something a little more classical, you can go with this one, which is called Reflections of the Elf Mage. It features a simpler, more directly influenced by HeroQuest style. We do have our double and triple wide corridors. We do have an offset of the rooms, so there are some clear differences here, and the artwork is entirely original, but this one is really beautifully laid out. I really, really like this one a lot. Here is what is basically on the edge of my Dreadmoon Rising mat. This is kind of what hangs off partially off my table, because my table's just 30 inches and the mat is 36. But again, this is like the do what you want with it area. You don't have to use this for the quest. If your table does accommodate it though, you can totally use this for your quest because all of these tiles are serviceable. You can have your heroes go through a door, come out this side, and then this is where the boss battle takes place. Ian has a high standard for quality, so all of these mats are 300 DPI, and they are all designed to be printed out 36 by 36, so that all of these tiles take up exactly 1 inch of space, squared. This one's called the Overlord. It is really cool. This is a very classy one. The last one that we're going to look at today is called YOLO's Crypt. I don't know if it's called that because you only lived once before you came to this crypt and then you died. Perhaps there is going to be an enemy here that will help you live again, as in necromance you back to a skeleton slave to their bidding. I love the layout of the lower left and right hand corners. I love this sort of series of rooms, and then there's a way to get around them. You can go through a sort of mini labyrinth, and you could place all kinds of rock tiles down to customize exactly how this little bit of labyrinth works. You can make this whole thing, even though it's very wide open and every single open space is accessible from anywhere else because there's no blocked off walls or anything, very much make it your own by placing down rock walls in places so that the heroes have to follow a singular path, and they could very well end up traversing almost the entirety of this entire board before they arrive at their destination. A little bit of redundancy in my explanation there. That's what happens when you don't use a script though. I love the nooks. And then in the upper right hand corner, we have some very curious slots in the walls that could serve as line of sight so that you could be ambushed by some goblin archers standing outside waiting for you to get to this treasure right here. Or, you know, you put the treasure there and then you lure your heroes to get to it. See if your party members are smart enough to realize that this could very well be a trap. Love it. I want to say excellent job to Ian, and I want to thank him again for his very generous contribution to the channel. And guys, I really encourage you to check out the link in the description below and see for yourself how beautiful these beautiful dungeon mats really are. Make sure you follow Ian so that you can get regular updates whenever he comes out with something new, and you'll always be on top of the dungeon mat game. Guys, if you have stuff that you want to show me or you want me to show off on the channel, just let me know. Link to my email is always in the description below, and I always try to get back to everybody as soon as I can. If you did send me an email, but I didn't get back to you, just shoot me a message. Hey, maybe it went to my spam folder. Really sounds like I'm trying to get free stuff. That's not the case. People have asked though, and that's the correct route to go. All right guys, thank you very much for watching. Comment anything you like down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, onward, brave heroes.